Welcome to Get Engaged, LSSSC's podcast, where we share heartwarming stories of hope and explore topics that matter to our communities with the help of experts and thought leaders. I'm your host for today, Paul Fournier, and we're broadcasting on the road from our future San Bernardino Community Wellness Campus. And I'm excited to bring you insightful conversations on a wide range of topics. So sit back, relax, and get ready to engage. So today we have with us Marcus Dillard. Marcus is the Chief of Homeless Services for the County of San Bernardino. And I'd like Marcus, just first of all, welcome. I have heard your story before. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you, sir.
And so I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your background, how you got there, and tell us a little bit about what your job as Chief of Homeless Service entails.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Paul. I appreciate it. So I think most people always ask, like, how did I get into homeless services? For me, I was an accountant for 15 years after I got out of the Marine Corps. And while I was in the Marine Corps, I was actually a firefighter, crash fire rescue. And so I was used to accomplishing things at a pretty high clip, pretty high level. So when I got out of the military, I ended up being an accountant for a construction company. And then we bought a home, we were doing well, and then the market crashed. At the time that the market crashed, my wife and I ended up selling our home. And I ventured out to my own and started doing my own business. But with the market crashing, that business began to tumble. So we found ourselves actually being homeless. And I didn't know what to do. I fell into a depressive state. We had just had our newborn sons. They were twins. I think they were 3 years old at the time. And we ended up losing our home. So I was calling relatives and family members to try to get a place to stay, and no one would have a place for us to go at that time. So it actually put us in a predicament where we were in a place not meant for human habitation. So my wife was calling around. She found a company called U.S. Vets. U.S. Vets took and helped us with some rental assistance. And as they helped us with rental assistance, they saw me and said, "Hey, Marcus, would you like to do outreach?" At the time, I'm desperate. I just need a job. So I decided, okay, let's do this outreach job. And I always think about that time now, thinking back on it, how it's funny how God does things where you have to be put in a predicament where you're willing to accept certain positions, because I wouldn't have never went into homeless services if it had not been for that predicament, because I was accustomed to being this business person and things of that nature. But at the time I needed it. And one of the things that resonated with me the most at that time of going through the crises is looking at my 3-year-old son and him saying, "Dad, I want to go home." And I could not take him back home to the home that we had just lost. So he was, the whole night he stood up, he was crying. So I'm crying. It's like I'm torn up, I'm messed up, because I feel like I failed as a dad and as a husband. And my wife, she supported me so greatly. I appreciate her so much because of the fact that it helped me get built back up to where I could be what I am today. And so going into U.S. Vets, I was a street outreach worker for 3 years, made $30,000, same amount for 3 years, never an increase or anything like that. But it wasn't about the money at that time.
What did you do with all the spare money?
Exactly. Exactly. So that was an opportunity to show how good, really the space was, because I was so accustomed to being at a certain level that I didn't think I could survive at that level. But for 3 years, God maintained my family at that level, and I never had to stress about it. And I was so grateful for the opportunity that it was hard work for me. So at that point, I was helping people. I would answer my phone from sunup to sundown. Midnight, I would get calls. I would answer to try to help people. And it was that passion that kind of drove me into homeless services.
Okay. And so you went from U.S. Vets and then you did other things for the county of Riverside, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I went actually to the county of Riverside. That was a great opportunity for me. It was funny because I'll say this, and a lot of people don't know this. So my first 3 months at the county of Riverside, I was willing to quit that job. I wanted to go back to the nonprofit because I thought I made a mistake. I came here. This is not working. I want to go back. And now U.S. Vets wanted to take me back. And the pandemic hit. And the pandemic, when it hit, it was an emergency response to get everybody off the streets from the river bottom, everywhere else. And it was a immediate response. And that was my niche because that was what I could do well. And I was allowed to deploy that skill. So it actually put me in a predicament where I was able to use what I really knew how to do. And that allowed me to fall into a space in Riverside County where I was able to excel and do great things. So we ended up housing over 1,200 individuals and through that project. And we actually put over 800 people in permanent housing.
And I heard you talk a little bit earlier just about a funnel. Do you want to just spend 30, 45 seconds on that?
Yeah, I think what made us be successful is the fact that we were able to keep individuals into that sheltering process longer. But I think the other component of it was training up a team that was capable of getting individuals moved within a 90-day period. So what we did was we focused on the different milestones that the individuals needed to hit and how do we successfully bridge them to those milestones of driver's license, birth certificate, Social Security, being able to work on their credit while they were there, getting back in touch with family members, different things that would actually create pathways to housing for them. And that allowed us to actually get individuals connected to housing and be able to maintain that housing situation.
Okay. And fast forward, you have been with the County of San Bernardino now for how long? Yeah,
so I've been with San Bernardino County for about 6 months, and it has been a pleasant journey. One thing I love about San Bernardino County is a lot of the individuals that are on the street and homeless look like me. And so when people think about homelessness, they oftentimes categorize homeless in a certain way because it's used to say, well, they're on substances and they're struggling with different things, different vices. But I was homeless and I wasn't doing any substances or things of that nature. And I know a lot of people who fall into those same situations. So I think being able to come here and help those individuals and understanding what they have to go through when you're homeless. I don't know that everybody understands that. When a person is homeless, the things that they do to survive may lead to them utilizing substances or lead to them dealing with mental health. The state that you get into when you feel like you failed, it is not something you just climb out of because of just, hey, I wake up today and I think I'm better. So San Bernardino County has been a great journey for me. A lot of the people have been welcoming to me since I came here. And now the mission is to create a flow here to where individuals that hit our system of care are quickly supported.
Okay. So we'll be right back with more questions related to that.
Thanks, sir.
Don't go away. And if you've been inspired by anything you've heard on today's podcast and would like to volunteer for Lutheran Social Services of Southern California, see our website, lsssc.org. Select Donate, then Volunteer, and donate your time and talent to a cause you care about most.
So as Chief of Homeless Services for the County of San Bernardino, what is the big picture of what your job entails? And then continuing on from that, not just what is the job, but what is your vision for what really good homeless services look like?
So big picture vision is to actually create a pathway to where we as a community, when I say we, I mean the county, but also the community service providers who have been at this for a number of years, even beyond what we see, because a lot of them do it locally in their respective spaces, to be able to work together to actually help individuals who are impacted by homelessness and get them supported immediately, not to have it to where this thing waits for a long period of time, because when a person is in crises, we need to actually be able to respond. I often tell my team is our work needs to be in the rate of the response needed by the people that we're serving. So it can't be something that takes a long time for us to do. But I think in order to do that, we have to be great partners, but we also have to be more transparent in the work that we're doing. A lot of times the story that it's not told about the amount of work that's being done. So people think, what is happening? What is going on with the funding? So it's our job to create a good story, but also create the narrative that lets people understand what it is that we're doing and how we're working together to get that mission accomplished. In terms of how we'll effectively do that, we need to make sure that we're training and supporting every community partner that we currently have, but then we also need to let them know what the expectations are and come with strategy. For me, the biggest thing is not just being a person that complains about what's going wrong, but having some strategy towards fixing it or solutions towards fixing it. And oftentimes that's the work. That's the real work. It's not just the execution, but it's giving people guidance and direction of where we're going to go. I remember our drill instructor, we would go marching and we would march as a platoon, but we would have to know where we're going so that we can march effectively.
We'll be right back with this month's guest. To read a free digital copy of this month's magazine, go to lsssc.org. Go to News and select Engage Magazine. Or for your free subscription to the quarterly printed magazine, go to lsssc.org, go to Contact Us, and subscribe.
Having heard your vision and knowing that you just toured our facility here in San Bernardino for the first time, how does what we're doing here and what we're embarking upon at the Community Wellness Campus mesh with the vision that you've laid out so far?
I think it was great to actually tour the site and see all the work that's being done here and the heart behind the work that is actually being done here. I think anytime you can get a provider who's looking to increase permanent supportive housing or increase housing capacity for the county, then it's a benefit to what we're trying to accomplish. What I really, really love about what you guys are doing is your shelter that you currently have. I think that the shelter you have is a good pathway for us to envision how do we get individuals into shelter and how do we support the movement of individuals out of sheltering. So one of the things I would love, and I'm actually looking forward to doing, is partnering with Lutheran Social Services and making sure that we're working with them so that if individuals go into the shelter, that we're helping find an exit strategy for those individuals. And I think what that'll do is create a pathway for other individuals to be able to go into sheltering. But if we do create a system that is a good flow and show that collaboration, it's something that can be modeled and also be replicated by other agencies.
So you don't want to just house people indefinitely.
No.
You want to see progress.
100%. And that supportive element you guys have here supports that. And it's something we want to do.
Weird. Well, I am delighted that you were able to tour today and get to meet the folks, because I was excited just to watch the interaction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate it.
Coming up next, some final thoughts. At Lutheran Social Services of Southern California, we live out God's love by embracing, equipping, and empowering vulnerable individuals, families, and communities towards self-sufficiency. To discover all the many ways you can be involved in your community or to make a donation, go to lsssc.org or visit our social media accounts.
Thanks for tuning in to Engage. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on your favorite platform. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media site or on our website, www.lsssc.org, and keep up to date with all the ways that LSSSC embraces, equips, and empowers Southern Californians in your community. Please join us next time for another important episode.